Well, hello, hyperspace. My name is Devantos, and it's time to get hyped because I have some big news regarding Call of Duty World War II. Now, you guys know Call of Duty World War II is being developed by Sledgehammer Games, which is the same guys who gave us Advanced Warfare, which wasn't really a well-liked Call of Duty. So, with this huge news about Call of Duty World War II, they have confirmed that supply drops are going to be in the game. That's not a big surprise, we all saw that coming. However, the Sledgehammer executives were answering some questions to the fans, and fans are asking, different questions. Are there going to be supply drops? They said yes, that's where I got this information. They said, are the supply drops going to have overpowered weapons, so on and so forth. And Sledgehammer went on and said that the supply drops are only going to have cosmetic items only. Now, where have we heard this before? They said the exact same thing for Black Ops 3, and they broke their promise. They said the exact same thing for this game that you're watching right here, Modern Warfare Remastered. They said there will not be any supply drops in Modern Warfare Remastered, but then they go and add an update that gives us supply drops, and fans are freaking out saying, I thought you said there's no supply drops! And then Raven Software says, no. These supply drops are only going to have knives, and they're only going to have cosmetic items for your character. We're never going to add any weapons because we want to keep it just as it was 8 years ago. And then they went on and broke their promise, and they added weapons in supply drops. So, and also the weapons in these supply drops are probably the best and most overpowered weapons in Modern Warfare Remastered. So, I don't remember if they said the same thing for Infinite Warfare. I think they did, and if they did, though, they broke their promise a third time. But I mean, what else is known as Call of Duty? So, this goes to show that 100% confirmed, Call of Duty World War II will have supply drops, and even though they said it's only going to be cosmetic only, I mean, come on guys, really? We all know it's going to have those DLC weapons, because World War II, there were a lot of guns in World War II that didn't make it, into the mainstream. There were a lot of weapons that were being tested at the time, a lot of weapons that the Japanese were using that the Americans never seen, and all that stuff. They have so many options to work with, and they can put so many weapons in these supply drops. And, some of them we haven't even seen before. Like, I mean, for those of you who are new to World War II shooters, I'm pretty sure almost all of the guns in Call of Duty World War II you've never seen before. Only the popular ones, like the M1 Garand, the M1911, and so on. But if you bring up, like, the Springfield sniper rifle, or you bring in, like, the DP-48, those are guns that, a lot of COD fans today aren't too familiar with. So, there's a huge array of weaponry they can just add in these supply drops, and we know it's coming. The game launches, I think, on November 3rd. So, on November, the supply drops are probably going to be there at launch, because they already announced it. So they're going to keep the supply drops cosmetic around November, because they want people to buy the game, and they want people to see that they're keeping their word. Come December, these supply drops are still going to be cosmetic because it's the big holiday season, and that's when a lot of people are going to be getting this Call of Duty for Christmas, or whatever, holiday you celebrate around December. So, November and December, the supply drops will be cosmetic. Come January, they're going to start probably adding a couple little changes here and there, maybe more cosmetic things, or maybe a cosmetic thing for your blade or shovel, whatever you're using. And then come February and March, when most people have the game and there's no big holiday coming in, that's when they're probably going to start adding the weapons. And we all know how supply drop weapons work. Black Ops 3 did it. The only way you can get the overpowered weapons is from supply drops. Modern Warfare Remastered did it. I guess you can kind of argue that Modern Warfare Remastered, you can kind of purchase it with salvage, but at the rate you earn salvage in Modern Warfare Remastered, you're better off just getting a supply drops. Infinite Warfare, kind of the same thing, especially with the weapon variants. Now, the default weapons aren't too overpowered, but when you get onto the weapon variants, especially the legendary variants, that's when it kind of starts to get overpowered, and the fastest way to get these legendary variants are through supply drops. So, quick note, that means for the channel, Call of Duty World War II is not going to happen. But for you guys, how are you guys seeing this? I mean, we all know Call of Duty's gonna lie. They did it, 4 years in a row now? So it's still what's stopping them from the 5th year. Especially because I see that Call of Duty World War II is exploding. It's everywhere. It's on every billboard across the world. It made it to Wall Street. It made it to Madison Square Garden. This Call of Duty is massive. And for the company to actually say, this is the biggest Call of Duty we've ever had in years, this time, let's not take advantage of the supply drops. That would be a terrible move on the company's perspective. So, they can easily, just quickly, on a whim, just break their promise, add some weapons to the supply drops, and then boom, they made themselves a couple more $1 million from the supply drops. And it's just, it's business standards. They're a business. That's what they do. I mean, I kind of see that some businesses don't lie and do as bad as Call of Duty does, but Call of Duty is still a business, and at the way Call of Duty is going, I said this many times, I'm just going to stick to Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered. Call of Duty World War II is, well, it's not going to pop up on the channel now that I know all this information. And for Call of Duty gamers, I feel like, at least in my opinion, I feel like you should do two things. Either one, give up on Call of Duty and move on to another shooter, maybe Overwatch, Battlefield, whatever you're comfortable with. Or if you are going to stick to Call of Duty, I would suggest just sticking to a COD that you're comfortable with. Like me, I'm comfortable with Infinite Warfare, so I'm going to stick with that until I find something interesting. Maybe you guys are comfortable with Black Ops 3, maybe you guys are comfortable with Modern Warfare Remastered, so I would say you should probably stick with that, because Call of Duty is very, very shady nowadays. They tend to lie right in your face, and then once you have the game and you can't return it, that's when they start ripping you off. And I also want to bring up something that makes a Call of Duty stand out from all the others. Let's actually use Ghosts and Infinite Warfare, for example. So first came Ghosts, and then came IW when you're talking about Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward added something in Call of Duty Ghosts that was completely different that they never added in other Call of Duties, and that was voiceover packs. So you know your captain who says, "Enemy UAV above," you know, in Ghosts, you can actually switch that guy to be maybe Snoop Dogg. And then Snoop Dogg is going to be giving the shout out. Snoop Dogg will be saying, "Enemy counter UAV above," and stuff like that. That was something that was huge, and it made Ghost stand out because no other development team put that in their game. So come Infinite Warfare, they did the same thing, and it makes Infinite Warfare stand out just like Ghost did because, well, you can change your captain. So in IW, you can have like a granny, and she says, "Enemy counter UAV above," and all that stuff. And it's a staple for Infinity Ward to do that in their Call of Duty games. So now we move on to Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer was known for having their characters really customizable, you know, change their head, shirt, pants, knee pads, and all that stuff, so I can see that coming in World War II, not much of a big deal. But the big thing that makes Sledgehammer Call of Duties stand out are the funky costumes that you can give your characters. So in Advanced Warfare, you could have had your soldier running around as a gingerbread man, or a killer clown, or Santa Claus, or, I don't know, some kind of weird dive suit. And it wasn't really military related, and the fans didn't really like it, but that was still something that made Advanced Warfare stand out. And what I'm kind of getting at is they can bring it back to World War II because it's still a Sledgehammer product. Now, I know when the game launches, they're going to keep their promise, they're going to keep it cosmetic only, and everything is going to seem World War II theme based. But come, you know, the coming months leading on to February, March, and April, and so on, that's when they can start adding these things. When it's too late for you to return the game and all that, they can start adding in these funky clowns. You're gonna have like World War II soldiers, you know, back in the 90s, and you're gonna see like freaking robots and gingerbread men running around the battlefield. It's probably going to happen because it's a Sledgehammer game, and that was a Sledgehammer product that stood up and stood out way back in the Advanced Warfare days. Not to mention, Call of Duty World War II is huge. It's standing out everywhere. They have posters across every corner, standing up in Madison Square Garden and Wall Street, everywhere. You see posters for Call of Duty World War II. And because of this, it's the perfect opportunity for Call of Duty, being the greedy company that they are, it's a perfect opportunity to add as many things as they can in these supply drops while supposedly keeping to their promise on keeping it all cosmetic. And then once they get all these funky costumes or these funky cosmetic costumes out the way, then they could add those overpowered weapons, which we all know is coming. So, in my opinion, I don't really see like World War II is going to be as good as people are hyped up to be. So, if you like this video, punch that like button with a mighty force. You can follow me up on Twitter at DevantosMan, and as always, I'll see all of you in the next video. Have a nice day.